Howdy, nearly senior citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends. And remember this, no matter who you are valid. And welcome to this, a brand new day where I'm stumbling over my words at the very beginning, making me wonder as I was doing it whether or not I should have just stopped and re-recorded. But you know what? I'm a human being. I'm going to leave it in. I'm not a voice actor. So, hey, life is life. And of course, yesterday I talked about this, so I'll talk about this part of it. Since I had mentioned that at 27 years old, the fellow of, I can't remember his real name, but who went by Mitten Squad online, who talked about online their struggles with alcohol and how they perished of their alcoholism. Time does not heal wounds. You hear them say, time heals all wounds. It does not. Time does not heal wounds. Time just puts another Band-Aid on top of it every single day. So in a week, you've got 8 Band-Aids between you and the wound. Imagine that in a month, and then a year, and then 10 years. Yeah, it's a raw wound, the death of my wife. But there's a lot of Band-Aids of time between me and her death anymore. Time does not heal wounds. Yay. And the air here has been terrible. Oh my gosh. Last night, I did a check on the air because I can't remember if I talked about this. Yesterday day, the air was foggy, and then it cleared up and there was blue sky but fog on the horizon, and then the fog came back, but it was a dry fog and the air smelled metallic. And when I checked the air quality stuff, it was bad, and as the day went on, it just fell to unhealthy. But what other air am I supposed to breathe? Whether it's unhealthy or not, it's the only air I got. So the air was unhealthy. There's some sort of inversion thing going on where it's centered in Utah, where my sister lives. So it's really cold. It's not affecting the weather, but it's holding in all the garbage air. And it's amazing she's alive, to be honest. And the bad air isn't helping her. But here, it's not terrible, but it can fall into unhealthy. And oh boy, when I say it's amazing she's alive, she used to break all the time. I don't remember a lot about my childhood, but I do have some images from my childhood. Like, I was an early teen, and I and at least my mother were sitting in the kitchen part of our house. My sister was standing in the living room portion. We heard a thump. She had fallen over from standing there and broke a bone. And when we were younger, we were going downstairs. Well, I was going to go down with her downstairs in a box because we lived as kids on the second floor of the house. I decided at the last moment to get out of the box. She rolled down the stairs and broke a bone. Later on, we did that kid thing where you get down on your back and you bring your legs up, they sit on your feet, and then you kick and they go flying. And I did that, and she smacked her wrist on a chair and broke her wrist. And one time we were out on the ice because it was wintertime when things actually froze, and she fell down and broke a bone. And she has broken many bones during her life. She's broken her pelvis, so she breaks easily. And she's got diabetes, and she's hooked up to a pump for it. And because of the air, she was just getting over something. Now she's suffering more. So, oy vey. Yeah, so and me, I'm alive when I shouldn't be. And I have fallen down so many times, even in the last 2 years, I have fallen down a couple times. And the last time I maybe broke something, and I say maybe because I never went to a doctor, I never found out. Because if you break a toe, what are they gonna do? And at the time, I was drunk. We had metal lockers in our rooms in the Air Force. I fell backwards, kicked. I kicked the bottom of the metal door as I was coming down. So I landed full force on my back and kicked full force into the bottom of that. And for years, my toes hurt. So I figure I fractured them. But I never took care of them because what are they going to do? And so things healed up. And as I said, they hurt for years. Did they break? Did they fracture? I don't know. I never went and took care of it. At another point, I was taking out some beer bottles and I was severely drunk and I fell and I came down on top of the, if you've got the part of the bottle that you drink from up here and the barrel of the bottle here with the bottom, this is the part that I fell on. Full force on my back, on one of my ribs. And for years, that rib hurt. But again, if you fracture a rib and it's not doing anything like bent inward or such, they don't do anything. They can't. They used to tape it up, but that constricts, and that's bad. So you don't constrict. They wouldn't have done anything, so I never went in, I never took care of it. I don't know if I actually fractured a rib or if I did something. And come to think of it, I'm having a lot of pain issues in that part of my back. That's where I landed on a bottle too. So I got a whole bunch of stuff happening back there. Any one of the things could be bad and explained by something else. Oh joy. And of course, as I found out, I knew I had scoliosis on this side. Luckily, we live next to a major street. Luckily, it's minor scoliosis, but it is there. But that means things are undeveloped on this side. And I didn't realize how underdeveloped things would be until just this year when I was trying to figure out what was going on in this shoulder when there was so much intense pain. And they did an ultrasound, and there is an artery that runs across and through here. And they were having difficulty finding it. A lot of the things are undeveloped, and my worry is if it's so hard to find, if it's so small and thin, I sure hope it never gets clogged. That artery leading to this arm, I already know if I pull my shoulder back too far to where it's supposed to be, that cuts off circulation. So I got to be careful not to do that. Yay. Hey, life is life. Past that, I mean, I'm aimed this direction, and I didn't do anything beforehand to get ready for this, so I'm going to have to turn and grab stuff off the table behind me. I had ordered something off of Drive-Thru RPG. I don't know if it's for sale otherwise, but like the game Tin Helm and Iron Helm can be bought in a multitude of ways. Print and play or through the Game Crafter. They make physical things out of like print and play things. And Iron Helm and all that are print and play. You just print them yourself on whatever card you have. Or Game Crafter, you buy all the parts through them. I bought the game through Game Crafter. Now there are some other parts and things that you buy through Drive-Thru RPG. Books will go through, I can't remember who the printing is, I think it's Lulu. But one of the things that I bought was a card game, 8-Bit Dungeon. And that just showed up today, and I'm trying to figure out the angle to put it at. It is a love letter to the older 8-bit type dungeon crawlers. And it's got a whole bunch of things. And I mean, they included the cards that come with it to tell the people how to fold the decks. I'll show you. Oh, I am unorganized. I hope you don't mind too much. I'm not going to be able to show you everything, so I'll show you these things. Here's what I mean by they tell you how to make the cards. This doesn't really show it. I don't know where the other one is, but here's a card that shows them how to push it in, and there's other things that show it, and I can't even find them, so my apologies. I am fool. But then they have a card for here's how to make a character deck. If you don't have your own dice, you can actually make dice from the cards that they will send you. One of the things that they have is equip your equipment stuff, and that you're supposed to cut out, but I don't want to cut these things out. These are some of the cards. At first, I mean, I don't know how well you can see that. This is the back of them. I think these are loot, treasure, and that's kind of a treasure sort of background. It's really hard to see no matter what. But the insides are actually bright and colorful, done in more of a, again, an 8-bit style. And when you're going through here, there's treasure and monsters and traps and all sorts of things. And I'm trying to find a monster, but I can't find, because I can't shuffle very well. I can barely use my hands as it is. Ooh, I got an itchy spot on the back of my neck. I can barely use my hands as it is, and I could never shuffle traditionally, no matter what, even in my life. So I really can't shuffle now. I gotta fake it, but here's like what the insides of the cards look like. Again, they're bright and colorful. But if I'm gonna shuffle like a bed of cards like this, you know, if I didn't care and about the cards, I would just smush them together and then wedge them until they were together and then bring them in. I did that as a kid with just random decks of poker cards. Now, obviously, I don't want to do that. These are nice looking cards. They're more expensive than poker cards. So now, if I'm going to shuffle something, I have to go, oh, like a couple here, and then I'll bring just a random amount to the back, and then some to the front, to the back, and then again to the front, wiggle them onto the back, and then the front, and then the back, and then do that a couple of times, and then just say, oh, okay, take this piece and put it there, and take this chunk and put it here, and this chunk and put it there, and then do that, because I can't shuffle. It's terrible, but I cannot shuffle. But this is the best I can do, and then, you know, if I have to randomly pull a card out, it's like, oh, what do we have? It is a card. But I want to play this for the channel as well as other things as well. Hopefully, by this Wednesday, the Final Girl core box will show up. Now, one of the things that I can't remember where it was on comments, but somebody in a comment somewhere mentioned that the Final Girl Krampus versus, I can't remember who it was, like Cindy or Mrs. Claus, somebody, Krampus versus some poor gal, you know, that's not a nobody gets it except the people who ordered it. It's the people who back the Kickstarter get it early, but it is going to be regular retail as well, which is good, because otherwise, as stated, it's not a choice. I don't choose for my brain to do this. You know, before I even realize consciously what's happened, when I hear these sort of things of this actually happening, I hear the door slam in my head and then realize what has happened. oh, I don't care anymore once I've heard that door slam. So it's not a conscious choice, it's just something that occurs. One of the other things that I've been really thinking of while just having a lot of time to think about things, I had mentioned just a off the cuff of my shoulder thing I had been thinking of based on a comic strip off of Twitter about a monster in a closet, and where the person goes, "Ah, it's a monster." The monster doesn't get offended, I have figured, because I think it was Confused Owl 29 that had mentioned, I think it's funny, that the monster gets too offended to do this. And the more I thought about it, it's not that the monster is getting offended. The monster is just too sensitive. It's not a choice matter. Just like I don't choose to not care about things if the retail parts are not available and I can't get the whole thing. That just happens. With the monster's reactions in this story, that just happens. The monster is too sensitive. Yes, they are honestly offended. It's so when I figure, of course, traditionally it's a gal, so it's a gal that the monster was coming in to eat, and when she was like, "Oh, it's a monster," the monster was just, I mean, it was like a stab in the heart. It's like, monster, what do you mean monster? A monster? I am a sentient being with I cannot. No, I'm leaving. I am leaving, and there's nothing you can say. I'm not hungry anymore. And then leaves, leaving the gal to, being like, gosh, I'm glad I'm alive. But on the other hand, I could have handled that better, sort of feeling. And then later on, of course, when she's like wanting to show the person that her friend that, look, there's the monster. And they show the monster's actually there. And then when she comes back, the monster is like, body language is all pulled in and tight. And when she's coming in, it's looking away into the corner, away from her as they're speaking. And yeah, when he's talking about, I'm a being. I'm a living, rational being. I have feelings and I deserve respect. And I have boundaries, and you brought people into my home. And yeah, he's ready to cry, if not a tear actually running down his face at that. He doesn't have a choice. He's not offended. It's just, he's far too sensitive for his own good. And of course, the funny part about this is there is, human death, suffering, and murder, which only makes things funny because she is never in any actual danger. The monster is just offended and trying to figure, not offended, too sensitive, and is getting just their too large of toes stepped on. Their nerves extending too far out of their bodies keep getting hurt. And so people die and get eaten. And in the end, I mean, at one point, I figure in the story, after I have no ideas. The monster has eaten the gal's friend that she sent there to give information, because how are you going to call a monster? The monster doesn't have a cell phone. No one has landlines anymore. She's doing something. She wanted to give information to the monster to let the monster know she wants to try a reconciliation thing. Here's what we need to do this. The monster gets confused, thinks the friend is the reconciliation thing, eats the friend, and so when she comes in there, they're just in a yelling match in each other's faces. And at the end of that, all of this were, a lot of human suffering, death, and murder. But she's just trying to get this figured out. She's no longer frightened. because she's at the point that she's yelling at this thing in its face while it's still got chunks of her friend's meat caught in its teeth, and she's in its face and yelling at it. But it'll end with something along the lines of, well, as they're sitting in a bloody attic, and the monster is, of course, coated in human gore. And this is after they've had some words and heated feelings. And it ends with something along the lines of her saying, well, there is some stuff I can do to help limit the number of people you have to eat every year. And the monster is like, oh, really? That'd be nice if you could help. I only need to eat like 12 people. She's like, yeah, if we're gonna be friends, we gotta limit the number of people you eat. But over. So, yeah, if you can't beat them, just do what you can. So thumbs up. Anyway, though, we're at 21 minutes. I can't remember if I've showed what I've done with the games over there, so maybe I'll show it again. I mean, I can, since I'm going to stop recording, before I begin recording the next part, check online to see. So I'll just do that. Anyway, though, until we meet again, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and that is indeed a very, very good thing. Now to take my finger and tap the on-screen stop recording button. Yay for technology.